day or stay there as a day shelter, a day warming facility or a day cooling facility while they ride out their high. Absolutely not. Appreciate your call. All right, now we go to Stephen Bucci. Served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, is a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thank you for joining us on AM 560, The Answer, Chicago's Morning Answer. Chris in for Dan. How are you, sir?
I am well. Merry Christmas and soon to be Happy New Year, and I appreciate you having me on the show.
I appreciate you coming on, as always. So, Venezuela and Cuba, what is next? This is from Mary Anastasia O'Grady in the Wall Street Journal yesterday. And some of the things she says are very important to think about. As you know, if Venezuela goes down, Cuba's going to go down, right? Because Cuba is extraordinarily dependent on Venezuela. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Like, for example, like the overwhelming majority of their oil comes in from Venezuela. And then also Venezuela relies heavily on Cuba for its intelligence services, even though the state is barely, held together by duct tape, right?
Yeah, that's true. The intelligence services in Cuba are top notch, in a nefarious way. They're really good at what they do, and they cater to Cuba's allies and friends in the region as much as their own needs.
Stephen, we had you on last week, of course, and you talked about also the depth of Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, Russia, China. I might be missing some others that are all in Venezuela, working with Venezuela, using Venezuela, etc. Is that about right on everything in there? Is there anything else on that?
No, that's all. Almost every one of the bad actors you could think of that don't own territory in the Western Hemisphere use Venezuela and Cuba as a staging base, as places they can move things in and out, as an outreach zone for our hemisphere. So that it's not just that we don't like Venezuela and Venezuela doesn't like us. They are an adversary, an enemy of the United States and of every free nation in the Western Hemisphere.
So, Stephen, when we look at this, the thrust of O'Grady's column in the Wall Street Journal yesterday is, yes, it'll be great if we can get rid of Maduro, Nicolas Maduro, excuse me, but also get rid of the Cuban dictators, still running the Castro regime, if you will, like you had mentioned last time. But if that happens, first of all, that'll be an amazing godsend to that region of our region, our area here, but also presents a unique opportunity for possibly, non-communist leaders to come in there. But it's also dangerous because that vacuum could be filled by something worse. What do you think about this opportunity? Is it a really great opportunity? Is Trump some kind of a genius for coming up with this, or was it an obvious decision? And then how worried are you about what could come next, and what would you anticipate would come next?
I think it is a good idea. The policy that President Biden's administration followed, which was don't touch Venezuela, don't touch the ghost fleets of tankers going in and out. And his concern and their concern was it was going to upset the Russians and the Iranians. Well, I don't really give a rat's what
Yes.
the Russians and the Iranians think about what we do in our hemisphere. So that was a ridiculous policy. Now, President Trump is saying, look, this is our hemisphere. We have to protect it. We have to stop people from doing things that hurt not just the United States, but the whole hemisphere. We need to take action. I don't know if President Trump has some sort of timeline for getting rid of Maduro, and then hopefully the other domino falls and Cuba goes. But he is taking actions that markedly protect and pursue the interests of the United States of America and our like-minded countries around us. The fact that the left is just going bonkers about it, it's baffling to me. It's not that they're being human rights advocates. It's not that they're protecting Venezuelan fishermen. These are drug runners and terrorists working against us and working against their own people. There's nothing bad about what President Trump is doing. And it just baffles me that the left is willing to go against 70+% of the American public opinion. That's not just MAGA people. That's folks from the entire political spectrum. The left doesn't care. They're going to go after Trump, and they're going to support the adversaries of America, and shame on them. It's just ridiculous.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, visiting fellow with the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Another comment made by Mary Anastasia. I want to make sure I get this right. Mary Anastasia O'Grady in the Wall Street Journal yesterday. It's the morning after, she says, when things are likely to get complicated. How concerned are you about the vacuum in what will be filled with the absence of Maduro and the communist regime running Cuba right now?
Well, look, Venezuela has a population, a lot of poor people, but a lot of very educated, competent people that have been put on the shelf by the Maduro regime and its predecessor. And that country used to be one of our biggest allies, one of a very productive nation, and it needs to be again. I am confident that if Maduro falls, maybe not immediately, but in short order with some help from us, they'll be able to get back on their feet and become a productive member of the region and the world. So I think there's good things there. It may require some help from us, some investment of time and effort to help them do that. But it's not like you're going to take over a completely destitute country that we need to go in and do everything for them. They're going to be able to pick up the ball and run with it. Good people that care about their own population and not just lining their own pockets. That's the kind of folks we should be supporting.
Ukraine and Russia, 20-point draft plan that Volodymyr Zelensky and Trump came up with after the meeting yesterday or before the meeting. And, of course, that came after Trump spoke by phone with Russian President Vladimir Putin for about 2.5 hours. Neither side gave details of anything. Trump noted major obstacles remain, including over what will happen to the contested territory that Russia wants. Couple things. To me, I just look at this as another false hope. I think that you can have as much of a willingness on Trump's behalf and on Zelensky's behalf, but they don't want to give 1 inch of their land up to the Ukrainians. Russia is in no hurry, as you know. Putin doesn't care about the meat grinder. It's fine. It could be another 1 million soldiers over the next year or two. I just have a very pessimistic view of this. I don't see Russia and Putin agreeing to end right now at all until they get more of what they want, which is land. And it seems like the NATO-esque agreement thing that where it wouldn't be NATO, but it would be like a coalition that we would lead or something like that. It doesn't seem like any of this is going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Am I wrong to be so pessimistic on this? What are your thoughts?
I think we should be pessimistic. Clearly, Putin has shown little, if any, inclination for anything positive. He really doesn't care about losing his own people. He darn sure doesn't care about killing Ukrainians of innocent people, everything. And he's a liar. So it's kind of tough to get excited about something. He says, oh, yeah, well, we like that. Let's work with that. When, again, it appears he's just slow rolling everybody. I really think if we're going to see a resolution of this that is in any way fair to the Ukrainian people, it's going to require a much tougher stance by the West towards Putin, and I'm not sure that's in the cards.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't seem like that. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So, I mean, we got to push forward. We got to try, but I'm not ready to pop the champagne cork for this bit anyway.
Yeah, so, I mean, to me it seems like Putin's going to drag it out so he can take more land because he doesn't want to stop until he gets more of the Donbass. He wants to some of these key towns in the Donbass, which were kind of Ukrainian strongholds. He wants to have those, which are they're almost at that point where he can have those specific cities or strongholds, and then it's just a straight road into Kyiv when he wants to go that down that road in 5 years when the next Democrat's in office or whatever, it seems to me. So he wants to drag it out and take more land so that Ukraine is even more defenseless for future invasions. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, that's always been the concern with any sort of concession to Putin is he'll say, okay, I'll take this, I'll settle it. It breaks my heart to have to stop because we really should own more and we deserve more. And you know that when he does stop, it's a tactical pause for him to rebuild things, refit, and get himself ready for another big push. Even if they sign something today, it doesn't mean that there's peace in Ukraine in the future. Because 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years would probably be helpful, but I'm not sure it would last that long. I think we'll see conflict again unless Russia gets rid of Vladimir Putin. And, unfortunately, he's a pretty robust and healthy guy, short of somebody putting some poison in his food or a bullet in the back of his head. I don't think he's going anywhere in the short term.
This NATO-esque forces they want to enforce any future incursions, to me that seems like it's going to be a no-go. Thoughts on that?
Peacekeeping missions have not gone well, really almost anywhere. They're difficult to enforce unless both of the opposing sides are really invested in the peace. Clearly, the Ukrainians want peace. The Russians do not at this point.
Right.
I think committing troops to that, you're putting those people at an awful lot of risk for very little potential gain.
The will of the Ukrainian people. I was listening to Zelensky talk about this, and he says, any land they would give up has to go through a vote. I guess that's how the Constitution is in Ukraine. And then also they're talking about elections for the president, for, whether it be him or somebody else. But the will of the Ukrainian people, I know they've totally flipped in being against surrendering to now being for surrendering. However, the fact that they have to vote on giving up land, are they at the point as a people where they're so done with the suffering and the war and everything that's done to their population, where they're just going to say, screw it, give him that, we're done? Do you feel that they're at that point yet as a population, as a people?
I don't know if the entire population is at that point or even a majority, but clearly significant pieces of that population have changed from the very strong, patriotic, we're going to see this through kind of attitude to, we're just done. No mas, man. We just can't handle this anymore. And you kind of understand that. I mean, they're getting hit every day in civilian targets. You can only hold out for so long.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer, a top Pentagon official. He's a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Thank you for joining us this morning on Chicago's Morning Answer, Stephen.
Thanks for having me, and again, Happy New Year.
Yes, sir. You too, and thanks for your service to our country. All right, so coming up at right after here, at the bottom of the hour here, 7:37, we're going to be talking. This is going to be really good. John Hinderaker from